Do you have something to say, my dear?
No?
Okay. No, you were leading forward like this. Thought you were gonna tell a joke about Isaac or something, Isaiah. So, in addition to being executive producer on The Fence, and now this feels like 3 years in a row that I've given a talk at New York Film Festival. So I do want to be put on staff. Get me a little free Metro card or something. But I'm also the president of the Claire Denis Stand Club, so which I think is very well known. So I kind of thank you. I'll take that. So I asked them if I could come and do this talk, and thankfully they granted my wish.
Thank you to be here with me.
It's my pleasure. The last time I did this, Claire received an award at the LA Film Critics Circle, and I showed up with a sweatshirt that had her face on it that said "Legends Only." I'm being professional today and not doing that. I want to talk about who here saw the film today at noon. Oh, great! So I don't have to explain too much of what The Fence is. But The Fence is an adaptation of a play by Bernard-Marie, but I don't speak French, so a lot of this shit coming out of my mouth is gonna sound crazy, but that's okay. Can you
Bernard-Marie Koltès?
Bernard-Marie Koltès. An adaptation of his play that's set on a construction site you filmed in Senegal. Can you tell the audience a little bit about what the film is about, the story of the film?
In fact, it's a very simple story. It takes place in one night in a compound of a construction site. At dusk, when the night is falling, behind the fence, a black man, pass through the sentinels and is coming to get the body of his brother who was working on the site and had been killed that day. And he said, I want the body back to the village and to the mother. And the white boss of the site is not able to return the body because the body was crushed. So all night he tried to, how do I say that in English, to postpone the moment to return the body. He wants the body to be returned after being repaired in a way, you know. And that's the main story. And there is a little bit of the story that seemed to be an addition. That very same night, this white man is expecting his wife coming from England and is preparing a sort of champagne and dinner and fireworks thing, a little bit ridiculous maybe, to greet her. And that's that very same night. My summary is awfully bad, but
it's perfect. And postpone is the exact right word. This is the master, and I am the pupil.
Oh, come on.
You and Isaiah were talking about Bernard and how you knew him. It's interesting because when we first began talking about this project, I could tell it was very personal to you. And the first thing you told me before I read the play was about your relationship to Bernard and this experience of sitting in a hotel with him and maybe trying to figure out how to make a film together. Today during the Q&A, you said, it had taken a very long time to make this film, but you said you'd felt compelled to make it, or you felt called to make it. Just want to talk a little bit about that, about making this film for Bernard in a certain way. Did you? Was that the reason for making the film?
I made the film with fear, with the fear to damage the story. But I made the film for Bernard, of course, for the memory of Bernard. But most of all because Isaach de Bankolé, who was Bernard's friend and who introduced me to Bernard, I thought I owe him the film too, you know. So both Bernard and Isaach gave me a sort of braveness to try to adapt it. You know, it was not an easy thing, you know. It was a Bernard's style is the way he wrote is so particular. I wanted to keep a little bit of that rhythm. Also, it's not a play; it's a film.
Yeah, I remember doing the script process as you were going through drafts and we were sending or having conversations across the Atlantic. The script would change, but it didn't feel like it was getting farther from the stage and closer to cinema. By the time I read it, it was already cinema in a certain way. This is your first adaptation of a play, not your first adaptation.
Sure.
Was it different to adapt a play?
Very different, because I remember the stage. I remember the way it was on stage, and I had to recreate a sort of landscape, and knowing that it takes place at night, so knowing that there will be very few occasions in the movie to see the landscape, you know. So I made this little part of day scene with the future wife arriving in a plane, you know, and to have a little the feeling of that part, that country in Africa that is maybe immense and not wild, soft in a way, you know. Yeah, as opposed to the compound, which is not soft.
Yes, you take a very hard stance on the compound, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
So when this process began, I'm an executive producer, not a producer. When this process began, I got the book of plays, and I read the play. And if you've seen the film, in the play, it says there's bougainvilleas everywhere outside the fence. And I love that in the adaptation, the only thing that growing, she says, what a sad little garden.
Yeah.
And I think that's not in the play. And you see them trying to get things to come out of the ground, but nothing will grow for them. Just talk about making those kinds of choices.
It's because when Bernard wrote the play, he had been location scouting, maybe, I could say, in Nigeria, where it's equatorial Africa, where the vegetation is very strong, the rain are strong, and the rainy season is very important. So if you plant a tree, a leaf, 3 weeks after it's a tree, you know. So there in Senegal, it was exactly the opposite. It's Sahelian Africa. So I decided to make the garden as something that try to grow as if the pretension of living there meant a garden, which of course has no sense in a way, you know.
Did you sit through the screening today at noon? I know you've seen the movie 8,000 times. Did you watch today?
Today I watch.
Okay. What did you think about all the laughter? I thought it was very amazing. Claire Denis, comedienne.
I I think it's the situation. Yeah, I think it's the. My sense of humor. It's not extremely big, but I think I always remember when I was reading Bernard play or watching a play written by Bernard, that there was always this sense of irony with the situation that make us laugh. I think it's maybe a little bit of that in the film too.
Was Bernard a funny person as you knew him?
He was a young man, extremely beautiful, I have to say, very charming, with he has a sense of irony, and he was not soft. He could be very how do you say? He knew what he wanted. He would never be soft, you know. When he was working with a director, he would ask for what he wanted. He was a tough guy, in a charming way.
Imagine that, a tough guy in a charming way.
Yeah, he was extremely. He looked.
I might know somebody who's a tough guy in a charming way.
Yeah, but Isaach, remember, Bernard looks like a sort of angel, but he was also a devil.
I want to talk about some of the conversations that we had with yourself and your co-writer Andy, who I believe is in the back row, back there. We were talking about. I remember the character Barry, and I was saying how this character is so powerful. He's so powerful. I want him to just destroy the compound. It feels like if he went inside, he could just burn the whole thing down. And you said he would never go in there. The idea of it repulses him. He would never enter the fence. Watching the film today with an audience, I really, truly felt that. Talk to me about how the firmness in that stance.
For me, it was something. This thing has to do with the meaning of the play and the story. The extreme politeness, sir, all the words, this extreme politeness between Barry and On, the white man, is it's a sort of war of words. They are extremely polite, especially Barry, and it's like a gun, you know. It's the best arm to be that polite and apparently patient, because it's like it's the best arm he can use to destroy the boss of the compound, you know, is to be that extremely polite person, which in a way oblige the boss to be polite too, you know. For me, that was the important thing, more than to break everything to get free, but to be free in a different way, free by the power of his the intensity of his willing.
This is a subject that you continue to return to in your work, this region of West Africa, colonialism, post-colonialism. I even feel if it wasn't this play, there would have been another story that would have taken you back there, thinking of your first film, Chocolat, and now this film. It's very interesting, the dynamic between the Africans in the film and typically these Europeans. You're using the term black and white. I'm going to say Africans and Europeans. What about that subject is still fertile to you? Because I do think you're saying things in this film that you haven't said in the other films.
I think it's not going to stop to finish. When we were shooting in Senegal, at the same time there was they found oil in the sea, and we could see a real new industry growing where we were shooting, you know. We could see the people working there, the European and the African, and it was completely like in the film, you know. We were shooting at night, so arriving end of day to start shooting at night, we were watching the workers of the industrial site leaving, going home. And when we were leaving at the end of night, at dawn, we could see the first worker arriving on the site, you know, next to us. And it was like as if we were part of a gigantic machine that is the capitalist machine, you know, to go where you can be a predator. And
well, I think in a way you're not a part of the machine. I think it's really wonderful that you were documenting this moment, this event, this situation in real time. Again, they would leave the site.
Yeah.
You would repurpose the site to gather the truth of what this site typically or could mean for the people of that region. It's why I was so moved by the laughter in the screening today. I think that some of these themes are similar to the themes in Chocolat, but I look around, I see all these young faces. You know, I'm 45, some of y'all might be 15, and it's like, but as they're laughing, I hope that they're really seeing, you know, Cal, I love the line about him. He's like, I only drank milk until I met you. Yeah. It's ridiculous because he's a baby. You know, I also love that you have these men, and he's going on this tirade about oil and about drilling and highways, all these very modern things that should bring him superiority, and yet he feels completely small in the face of Albary, who's outside the fence, and his shirt and his tie. I mean, if that kid, and he did such a great job, if that kid had said, "You will not replace us," all of you would have thought you were on YouTube watching a video from Charlottesville. So I think in that way, it makes the themes very modern and contemporized without them being any less true. So I'm glad that you were using the same sites. Now, I also know as a producer that Claire was very adamant about not filming anywhere near where it had rained because the frame had to be very truthful, and that may have delayed the filming of this film for quite a while. And yet, it's all good because we're here now. I wanted to talk just a little bit about the craft of the film. I asked you earlier about adapting a play versus adapting a novella. I was listening to a talk you gave here in 2019 about High Life, and you were saying the corridor in High Life, that people suggested maybe you should do it 3D, but you didn't want to do it 3D because that wouldn't be a real experience for the actors. As a producer, this film, which takes place at night on very small sets, could have been filmed on a stage.
Absolutely, but it was not on a stage. It was in end of January and February under a terrible wind, the Harmattan, and we were in the dust and in the wind every night, and it was part of the making of the film, to be outside in a real, on a real site, you know, with an industrial surrounding. on a stage, I would not have believed, you know. And we had these cows all around, because it's true, when this new compound with oil and gas started there in Senegal, this place was meant to be a sort of prairie for cows. And little by little, as the industrial things grew, those shepherds had no places with their cows, you know. So this was not in the play, but it was really happening where we were shooting. It was very moving. We could see how hard it was for those little shepherds to take their cows to drink or to eat, you know, grass. So I think we were helped not to be on a stage, for sure, for sure. And we were working with a Senegalese crew. And I think they were part of the film because I have to say they liked the script. They kept telling me they liked the story, and it was giving me a sort of confidence to know that they were with us not only for money, but they believed in the film. Yeah, it was great.
This is the issue with making a film that sometimes is as funny as The Hangover. Only because you see the cows when they're driving in, and she's like, oh, look at these pretty cows, and he kind of weaves through them. It's very dusty. They pull onto the site, and then later, when the fireworks go off and everything's going to hell, you see the cows enter the compound, and they go to water because the compound has grown, that it's kept the cows from the stream. So it's in there, but it's not like A to B to C to D to E to F to G. Because instead people are laughing when Isaach says, I have said no words.
Yeah, yeah.
Speaking of which, how did you meet? How did you meet Isaach? How did you meet Isaach?
I met him I think in the theater where Bernard-Marie Koltès was working, and also Isaach had just made a film that was a big success in France. And when I met him, he introduced me to Bernard, and for me, they became, it's hard to say, but they became part of my life. I had never met two persons so close and so essential for my life.
It's interesting because in the play, the character, Albury, is written to be, I believe, a younger man, especially because at the time that Bernard would have written the play, you guys were at a different place in your life. At a different place in your life. How did you change the character to fit with the evolution of Isaach to present day?
There was something I didn't like very much in the play. I liked the play, but there was something in the casting of the play. Owen and Cal were much older. Michel Piccoli was on. And those Europeans were sort of rest of the past, you know, not modern, you know. And Albury was this young man claiming for the body of his brother. And I thought by making them more or less the same generation was probably better for the story, yeah. And even though Mia, the young wife, is much younger, but in a way I think she's perfect. She's someone she's seeking for a better life. She's working in London, she's a nurse. That's how she met Orne. And suddenly she thinks that going to Africa, it's a wild adventure, and she's going to have a wilder life. And what she feel as she enter the site, it's a jail.
How many films have you two made together?
Together?
Yes.
3, I guess, Isaach. 4.
Which one is she forgetting?
No. Chocolat, No Fear, No Die, White Material, and this one. Yeah.
So was he more difficult in the beginning, or is he more difficult now?
No. It was never difficult. Isaach was always, he gave me peace and confidence always. It's very special. Isaach is trusting.
I kind of want to talk because I can ask whatever the hell I want. This is awesome. And she said I could ask whatever I want backstage. So this, I wouldn't consider this a black film because the white characters are so at the center of the film, and yet in some ways it does have the point of view of blackness. I love that language is really important in the movie, and there are often times, which is a great source of humor for the audience, where the people who have all this power, you know, whose language is on the currency, they hear things and they're forced to ask for a translation, and the translation is a lie. And all of us in the room get to perceive that and really participate in the ridiculousness of the situation. But then there's something like 35 Shots of Rum, which I would say is a black film. And so as you're going through your work, I guess you did grow up on the continent, but why? What is it that's drawing you to these stories?
I never think black film. I think for me it's the point of view. You know, for instance, in the play, Albury was behind the fence, and on stage, it was the compound of the white people. So I think, for me, when we start shooting with the DP, Eric Gauthier, who is a great DP, I told him, we are going to move from one point of view to the other. We need to be able to cross the line, always to have Albury's point of view, you know. And he sought the nightmare.
But I'm going to contradict myself.
Oh, sorry.
Maybe it is a black film. Yeah, because Matt Dillon is a handsome man, but man, Eric puts that camera like right next to him, and it's always right at eye level, versus Isaach is always like,
yeah.
And he's got these amazing close-ups, and he's all chiseled, and the light is all soft and dappled. You did that shit on purpose.
I think also...
she did not deny it.
No.
She said, I think also.
No, I think also because maybe my understanding is not as fast as you think, but there was something important is most of the time Matt Dillon faces is behind the fence, you know. And Albury is in a way more free. That's what
So you said you did even more. Did you guys read that? The fence is between the lens and Matt Dillon, but there's no obstruction when she's filming Isaach. It's Amazing, lovely. This is why you are the master filmmaker.
Oh, no, no, no.
Yes, 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 yes. If there's someone, I'll take questions from people under 25 to start. Under 30, under 30, under 30. Go ahead, my friend. But whoa, 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 whoa. You know that I am Barry Jenkins, and she is Claire Denis. You are?
Ryan.
Okay, cool.
Ryan.
Thank you. There are some really stunning landscape shots in this film, courtesy of Eric Gautier. And with the compound, in the sense that the landscape is a character in itself. And that occurs in a number of your films. It's definitely the case in Beau Travail. It's certainly the case in Chocolat and a number of the other ones. I'm wondering, when you're looking at a story, what are you seeing first? Are you seeing a character, or are you seeing the landscape? What is the first, perhaps, image that is coming to your mind if you're thinking about doing film?
Honestly, for this project, I have to say, I saw a landscape immediately because Bernard told me he did his study a compound in Nigeria, and I know the landscape of Nigeria and the own language Isaach de Bankolé is speaking is Yoruba. It's his own language, but it's also a language that you speak in Nigeria and in West Africa. And I had imagined this landscape of red earth and so much vegetation, you know, so much humidity. And it helped me when I was writing the script to imagine that landscape, to see the character in that vapor of humidity, you know. And suddenly to have to change and to go shooting in Senegal, which is a Sahelian part of Africa, drier, with this dry wind. It took me a few days to accept it, you know, to turn it so that it wouldn't be disturbing me while shooting. But at beginning, it was difficult to forget the first landscape I had in mind. Is my answer okay? Yes. Yeah? Okay.
Yes, your answer is okay.
Because I'm not sure I understand the questions, you know, that's why.
Ryan, you're going to detention. Yes, you in the back right there.
Hello, my name's Kyle, and I was talking with my friend, and we were thinking through a lot of your films, and how often they give this feeling of sort of otherworldliness, and I think this film is no different. We were actually comparing this to High Life and thinking, oh, this is another great space movie, in a way, because it was, it felt like you were so distant from so many other people and so isolated. And we also were kind of thinking about this almost as, it felt like a kind of purgatory in a way as well, with the watchtowers looking down on the people, and even just some of the language about not being able to see Isaach and other folks in the shadows. And I was just kind of contrasting that with things that I've also heard Barry say about filming Black people and the choices regarding that. Now, I've given you a lot, but I'm curious if any of those things felt very intentional to you, or if you saw.
I have to be very honest, I need a short translation of your question. I'm sorry.
Well, let me translate. Let me frame the question first.
Yeah.
So the New York Film Festival has this thing called a Film Academy or something like that. So there's all these young critics who come to the film festival. They get special passes. I think both these guys, both these people are in that program. You were that program, ain't you, Ryan? Oh, you should be. You should be. I'm recruiting for you. And you should be too. I'm recruiting for you. But you got to get those questions. So he was. I actually don't know. I don't know. You've got 20 seconds to ask the question again.
So I'm just curious about the choices for kind of filming, or the choices around kind of not seeing Isaac's character, or and people's kind of reflection on that and interest in wanting to see. Oh no, I got the timer. Okay.
You were interested in not why I don't show the character of Isaach in.
He was. The question is about. It's the whole film takes place at night.
Yeah.
Isaach has a darker skin tone, and he's in the shadows.
Yeah.
And just the approach to filming him as it dovetailed with the themes of this movie, and in the themes of some of your other work as well. The high life thing I didn't get.
But the thing, Albury can answer your question. Is very fragile, and big lights are hurting. You know, I think he has to be in that shadow, which in a way show more of him than if he was in the light, you know?
You know, can I say I went to Congo in April. I was there in April.
RDC? The
Congo? DRC, yeah.
RDC,
it was interesting. But when you go to a place like that and seeing this on screen versus reading it as the play, I really understood so much of the lighting is artificial.
Yeah.
A character like Albury may never see lights like the ones on the site. And so in a certain way, that's an additional thing that maybe is keeping him from entering the space. But I thought that played very well today.
But I have to say it's also the kind of humor Bernard Koltès has, that he says, when on says, show yourself, don't stay in the shadow, and he says, your light are hurting my eyes, you know. It's also a line, you know, it's not real in a way, you know.
Which is why quite a few people laughed. Another question. We're playing a dangerous game here. No pressure, person with your hand up in the back.
Woo. Thank you.
Whoa.
I'm so sorry.
Hello.
Hi. My name is Honor. And I was wondering, I think you do a really incredible job of writing stories from point of views that aren't necessarily directly your own. And I was wondering, what is your process of writing for characters that don't share the same life experience that you do?
I understand nothing because of the echo.
I got you. It was about, I'll put this down. Just writing characters who don't have the same background as you. What is your process? Like, how do you go about doing that?
It's a strange question. I don't ask myself. I think there is something so. Making film is really a way to travel in the human soul. For me, there is no stranger. Honestly, you know, it's not just to answer your question. I have no doubt about that, you know. I am not Albury, but I can understand Albury as well as I understand Orne in a way, you know.
And can I say to the person who asked the question, there's nothing wrong with that question. I'm actually glad you asked it. I'm glad that Claire was the one who answered it. I think all you young folks should come to festivals like this to get different perspectives on things like that. You know, our dogma teaches us that we should be afraid to write a character who doesn't share our experience, or that we literally should not write a character who does not share our experience. That just keeps us from doing the work. you know, of stepping outside our comfort zones and outside ourselves, and someone who doesn't have the perspective that we get in our pedagogy and our dogma, it's great for them to sit here before you and answer that question, because you've already seen the work and know she does it very well, which means you can too. So don't put your head down, nothing wrong with the question. And it actually was the best answer you possibly could have received. She was writing, hey, shout out
Yes.
New York Film Festival Academy.
And it's the only one I could give because it's true.
Boom. Yes, you.
Hello?
They got you, they got you.
Hi.
Wait, what's your name again?
My name's Louis.
Okay.
Claire, your work is so amazing. Barry, your work is so amazing. Thank you both for being here. There's a consistent trend in your films, Claire, where you leave things out and you let us kind of do the math. And I always find it to be so effective. And I was just wondering if that's something you're consciously doing when you're writing, or if that's something maybe when you're in the editing process, you choose to take things out, and how you approach that. I also, 35 Shots of Rum is my favorite movie ever, so thank you so much for that.
Thank you. I think I'm not aware of that at all. No, I think Andrew is here. He can say, for me, if I'm told it's a little bit obscure, you know, what do you mean? Me, I think the minute it's written or the minute we foresee a scene and try to write it, I think badly enough, I'm wrong probably, but it's understandable for everyone. Everything is clear because we all share this weird thing in life that we don't know all the clues, you know? There are many little black holes in between the experiences. So I believe in that, and I am wrong probably, but I think I can't help it.
So Louis, I want to jump on that question because I've had the same experience. So now I get to be one of you young people. So I'm like 23, right? And I find this DVD, I'm maybe 24, of Friday Night. And I'm like, what the hell is this movie? I've dropped out of film school. I'm trying to teach myself how to make movies. I'm at Blockbuster pulling all the foreign films. I pull Friday Night. And I have the experience you have, because I'm like, there's a way you make a film. It's the way Steven Spielberg makes a film. Steven Spielberg makes dope films, by the way. You know, it's the way John Landis makes a film. They made dope films, you know? But then I watched this film, and there's a scene in Friday Night, right in the middle of the movie. They stop at this cafe, and Vincent, Vincent's daughter, the lead in Friday Night, was one of the writers of this film, of this adaptation. Nice little bit of trivia. But he leaves the bar, and then he comes back, and then the woman in the film goes down the steps, and her steps are sunk up perfectly with the score by the Tender Sticks, which we also put in my first film, Medicine for Melancholy. And then she gets to Claire upcuts, and she's finished using the restroom. She's is like rinsing her hair, and she looks up. She flips her hair, and she looks up, and Claire just pans over to a condom dispenser. And you can tell it's been used. And right away, she realizes, oh my God, he came down here to get a condom. He thinks we're leaving this place for this one-night stand. But you didn't see him go down there and make the choice and ask for change. And I was like, fuck. What was that Antonio Banderas GIF where he's like, I was like, I wanted to. So when you asked the question, you took me right back there. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We got time for a couple more. Actually, I'm gonna get some more questions in.
Yes,
Now
sure.
that we're talking about Friday Night, we talk about Friday Night, talk about Let the Sun Shine In. You have this, you know, colonial, post-colonial bent to your work, but there's also sometimes these stories of women who just want to feel some life. And I think it's a really interesting sort of like avenue in your work. I think those films are very lush and tender and romantic at times, but it's you, so they're still fucking real. But when you go to make a film like Friday Night or Let the Sun Shine In, I'm using the English translation of the title, is there a, I know the answer. See, now I'm being one of these kids. Is there a different version of you that makes that film, or are you the same filmmaker?
I am the same filmmaker, and I am the same person. When I did Friday Night, it's a different story. Should not have happened.
Wait, pause. How many should raise hands? Who's seen Friday Night here? Oh, y'all are lacking.
Hey.
Some of y'all are just like missing out. And if you've seen much of Claire, like all of Claire's work except this film, you are missing out. The last 60 minutes of this movie, you are wow. Okay, hey, I'm gonna let you finish, but Claire Denis made the greatest movie of all time. And that is the last time I'll be quoting Kanye West.
I'm so glad you are that person who gives joy and life to everything. I'm not that kind of person.
No, come on, man. Friday Night, there's a moment where a character sits down, spoiler shit for those of y'all who haven't seen it. Y'all 20 years too late, so now y'all get a spoiler. Character sits down, looks at a slice of pizza, and the pizza smiles and winks.
Yeah.
It's so joyous. It's overrun with joy. It is true. See? So you were lying, right?
Yeah. No, I think before this meeting, they had to took me to a restaurant very fast because I need to see a smiling pizza.
All right, I want to get back to my question. Are you the same filmmaker where you make something like Friday Night, Let the Right One In, versus like Chocolat or The Fence? Very different films. Very, very different films. I'll tell you, I'm not the same person when I make Moonlight and when I make Mufasa. I'm a very different person.
I think, of course I am the same person. Of course I am the same person with, to be a human being, it's to share so many good or bad reason to live, you know? So I am also a woman frightened, like in Friday Night, running away from maybe her own life, trying to run away from her own life. And a film like The Fence, I think in The Fence there is also a woman who is trying to run away from a life in London that is not fulfilling, and maybe she's hoping, like so many persons, that a life on the African continent will open all the door of the mystery of life. And in fact, she's in jail, you know? No, I think, of course, I'm the same person. And I feel the same. I feel years passing, getting older, but not changing perspective on life. No, I don't think so.
Well, let me ask, has your perspective on cinema changed? Because you began making films for Chocolat was 1988, I believe, 87. And now with this film, bookended by your relationship with the gentleman back there, is your perspective, has that changed, your perspective on cinema?
Of course. It's hard to believe I was able to get the money for that film, you know. It was not an easy thing. It was not easy to produce a film like that. And
speaking of Chocolat, correct?
No,
of The Fence? Whoa.
Chocolat, the difficulty was because I was a woman, and it was to be shot in Cameroon, far away, so they thought, are we going to take this little woman in Cameroon? You know, they didn't trust me enough, being a woman, to do a film like that, so far from a small apartment in Paris, a story between husband and wife, for instance. But I think the fence is different. It's the economy of cinema has changed so much, you know, that it was almost, there was a moment I thought the film would never happen. Yeah. And I was lucky. I know today, auteur film, that it's an expression I hate. It's a sort of, why not? You know, no, it's very important. It's very important to be able to wish and dream and hope for a film, you know, even though it seems impossible.
And yet you are the same filmmaker.
Yeah, older, but the same. Yeah.
Wiser, bigger, better, stronger,
Wiser,
awesomer.
No. I'm not wiser.
So
No,
you were always I've seen Chocolat. You were always wise. It's true.
No, the thing is, making film and getting older, making film does not make me wiser. Makes me tired sometimes, anxious many times, but the energy of the first film, this sort of thrill and happiness of making the first film, it lasts. It's one time. Then it's the second and the third, and I know, like every director know, that it's without that belief, no film is possible. There must be a belief, otherwise it's a job. I think that's the point for me.
Well, shout out to Vixen Films, Goodfellas, Saint Laurent for supporting this film. Before you applaud, so that is going to conclude our talk. I just want to say, my kid is here, bro. I got a 3-month-old baby, and he's here. No, don't applaud. This is going to be the first time he ever hears applause. Yo, it's crazy. And his first talk was his dad talking to Claire Denis.
No.
And I think this shit is being recorded for
baby?
a podcast. Oh, you gonna meet him. Don't you worry. So when y'all applaud, just know that is happening in this moment. No pressure. Y'all better goddamn clap for Claire Denis.